Hey, by the way, tonight's game, New York wins that outright.
You know he's on top. Million subs, he never gonna flop. Out of Chicago, where the streets don't sleep. Betting on games, making cash real deep. Crystal ball for sports, he knows the lines. He's a sports aficionado, the money he finds. From football to basketball, he's always on point. Predicting winners never disappoints. He's got that hustle, that Chicago vibe. Making moves on the streets, cash on the side. With E, you know it's always a bet. He's the king of the game, never forget.
Hello and welcome to the Etoft21sports Show for January 14th. How is everyone doing? My name is Erik. I am the man behind Etoft21sports. Absolutely loaded show for you today. My boy from the Lock Talk podcast, Okane, is stopping by. Him and I are going to look back at the Wildcard Weekend, plus share our bets for the Divisional Round. And Gino will have his horse racing bet of the day. But before I get into all that, I would like to say thank you to the sponsor of the show, Boom Fantasy. If you're not using Boom Fantasy, go to the App Store, download the Boom Fantasy app, use promo code ETOFT21. That way they know old Uncle Rico sent you. Now let's see what our boy Gino has cooking for us over at Santa Anita this week.
Santa Anita will be racing on Thursday this week because of last week and all of the fires and all the devastation. They were canceling racing last week. So before we even give out a best bet, hope everyone out in Southern California is safe now and on the way back to rebuilding. Still not out of the woods yet with some more fires and wind coming up this week. But fingers crossed that at Santa Anita they'll be able to race this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. They're going to race 5 days. So some makeup days. And I'll get started on Thursday, January 16th in race number 1 with the number 1 final edition. So this horse debuted back in May, was a really good second, just missing his career debut. Came back in his second start. He stretched out to a mile. He actually was really good that day too. He finished third. He actually showed improvement based on the speed figures. Then he was off from June to October, came back in October, came out west, and he had a brutal trip in his first start out here in the Vladimir Sarin barn. Then on November the 24th, I thought he was a really good second that day. He was inside. He got shuffled back to last. He had to angle around widest of all. He really got going late. It was a good effort from final edition. I think it should set him up really well for this one. He was, very good second in that one. And now you'll probably just get him a lot more forwardly placed in here. So I think stretching out now from 5 furlongs to a mile and an eighth, he's just going to be closer naturally. He'll make the third start off the layoff. Final edition, he's 9-2 on the morning line. Anything 3-1 or above, I think that's a very fair price. Best of luck. Make sure to tune in here each and every week to Erik for all the best information in sports.
Make sure to give my boy Gino a follow at It's Me, Gino B, on all social media. I'm going to be on his podcast this week, giving you a game-by-game preview of the divisional round. Now, let's welcome this week's special guest. He was actually the winner. I hosted a guillotine fantasy football league, and he was actually the winner of the inaugural guillotine league. My boy from Milwaukee, Okane.
How are you doing?
Doing good, man. How are you doing, dude?
I'm fantastic. Fantastic. Excited to be back.
I got to give you a congratulations. You came in the silent man from the Cheese State. You dominated the Guillotine League. So props, credit where credit is due. For those who don't know, a Guillotine League is this. Lowest score of the week, they gone. They gone. You have a budget. You have to weasel your way. Not really weasel, but pick your way through.
Kinda.
For me, my downfall was Rashid Rice running into Patrick Mahomes. That's what cost me, and I couldn't recover. But congrats to you. That was a hell of a run. And yeah, man, you ready to talk some wild card? Ready to look back at the last weekend, man?
Yeah, we can absolutely do that.
We got some questions though, so let's just dive right into them right away. What happened with Cooper Kupp last night?
There's definitely some theories.
Yeah, let's hear them, man. I haven't been on social media today. What are some theories, my man?
Oh, it's the classic. He slept with Stafford's wife. But I don't know how much there is to that. I don't know. He's obviously, I had him actually in our guillotine league for a few weeks. I caught one decent week. I think it was the Bills game. Definitely wasn't his 2-touchdown game. I think it was after that I picked him up. But after that, it was never more than 29 yards, never more than 3 catches. Last night was one for 29. Yeah, I don't know. Cooper Kupp he's kind of weird, and it sucks because Puka is pretty much exactly what he is, just a little bit younger. Kupp's getting old, man. You forget he's 31. And I mean, in white receiver years, that's old.
The thing with Stafford is he's done this ever since the Calvin Johnson days. He tends to just lock on one wide receiver, and I think he's just locking on Puka right now.
Right.
And, I mean, he did throwing up the cup. There was some weird exchange on the sideline when he shook his hand, but I don't think the whole Cooper Kupp sleeping with Kelly Stafford is a thing.
Probably not a lot of validity there. No.
Kelly went from a solid 10 to like a 6 ever since she moved to LA. I mean, that girl, I loved her in Detroit, but Jesus Christ, dude, she has gone down a hole. Sam Darnold is who we thought he was. Yep, he was. Like, this is from Bryce from the ID Sports Pod. Him and I talked at length. Sam Darnold just is not that guy. The Ravens look to have found their formula. Can Lamar keep it together against Buffalo and pull off this road win? What say you, my friend?
I mean, for me, I'll talk about the game a little bit later. As far as a side, though, I'm not going to bet against Lamar. I still think it's kind of goofy that there is even a kind of a 2-man race for MVP. You put the numbers up. They have a graphic every single week, and you have to kind of be like, okay, Josh obviously has a little bit more team success, but at the end of the day, Lamar is unbelievable and can easily have his 3rd MVP here this year.
Here's a crazy stat for you. Okay, there's been 17 teams since the Super Bowl started, since the merger, that committed 132 penalties or more that made the playoffs. Of those 132, only one of them, that was the Seattle Seahawks team that lost the Patriots when they didn't give the ball to Marshawn Lynch on the 1-yard line.
Yeah, that was when we lost to him in the NFC Championship.
That made the Super Bowl. The Ravens have 132 penalties. So are they going to have the discipline? You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is I mean, they're blowing teams out. I mean, you look at their last 5, 35-14, 34-17, 31-2, 35-10, 28-14. There is a wide margin for error, but a team like the Bills, who is much better than, I would say, the last 5 teams that they've played, I think that is definitely something that can catch up to them. And Lamar, he can we've seen him be a pumpkin. It's not something we hold it against him. We've held it against him for a while, and this is a game he needs really, really bad. Obviously, Josh needs it too, but Lamar needs it.
And I mean, when you look at the last 3 games at the Giants with, who was it? DeVito?
Yeah.
35-14. The Steelers 34-17. The Texans 31-2 on Christmas Day, that weird short week.
Oh yeah.
And then the Browns 35-10. That's when Western Kentucky great Bailey Zappi was at the helm. So, I mean, has this 4-game run been impressive? Yeah, but you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's not like it's been the creme de la creme of the league. No. You're playing Josh Allen. Yeah, we're going back to my Spartans, dude. San Jose State, dude. Good, nice little sandwich spot. I know there's probably 8 people in the crowd, but we're still going to do it. Dean on the Cowboys. I have some thoughts on this. What say you?
I'm not going to bet against Deion, I guess. I mean, obviously people are still not impressed somehow by what he's done at Colorado, but It's quite the jump to get the Cowboys gig. But hey, weirder things have happened. I mean, Bill Belichick is coaching North Carolina next year. Nothing will surprise me at all anymore.
I think it'd be an awful hire. I don't really know how these adults would go to a guy who I think he's a good coach. I think he's one of Colorado's and great. I think he brought life into that program. He did a good job of bringing Warren Sapp, some former players in to bring these players around. Is that going to go to the pro game? You know what I mean? Like,
no one's going to buy the you rah rah bullshit. It's not. Like, they need somebody to talk to them like adults.
You're filming an Amazon Prime fucking TV show. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think he's a college coach. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just think he's a college coach. I don't think his game's going to transcend.
Yeah, 100%.
What do the Vikings do at quarterback now? Do they play Darnold after yesterday's performance?
I think now you can, because I think now you can afford him. I tweeted it a couple weeks ago. I think he has lost out. There's a chance he's lost out on $100 million. I mean, it is the last few weeks since they beat the Packers, which was their Super Bowl. It has been a hard downward trajectory for him. And for Minnesota, I don't know how McCarthy's doing. He was limping on the sideline still. I don't know if you saw that clip. He still doesn't look right. So I don't know. I think Minnesota now can afford to pay him, because I don't think he's going to be commanding top 10 quarterback money.
But if you're a GM, let's put your GM hat on right now.
I'm wearing my draft hat. It's as close as I can get.
Do you feel he's the quarterback that can take you over the hump?
Absolutely not. And that's why I want him to stay in Minnesota.
Because, I mean, like, look at it. Like, this O'Connell got them in his first year with Cousins. They lost to the Giants. Last year, Cousins got hurt. He was competitive with Josh Dobbs. Now, this year, you had a great year with O'Donnell, but another first-round exit.
Yeah, they haven't. It's been very. You talk to Vikings fans, it's been absolute pain. Especially, I mean, putting up single digits in back-to-back games to round out, to them, historic season. One of their best ever. There's no doubt about it. But Darnold being a big part of that in the two games, a touchdown and a pick and a bunch of yards, but not a lot of completions. It's tough, man. He played really, really well. I mean, that stretch where I think it was 11 touchdowns, no picks over 4 weeks, and he threw for nearly 1,000 yards. That was incredible. But again, it was Arizona, Chicago, Tennessee, and Jacksonville. So it's tough. There were a lot of bad football teams this year, but I think Kevin O'Connell is the one that I would give a lot of the credit to, and the weapons around him. He has some pretty darn good weapons.
Darnold will be in the CFL next season. This is probably to my Wyoming bet. Yes, I bet Wyoming. Yes, Boise State's making threes. No chance. Is there any chance Notre Dame can beat the Ohio State?
I know they can hang within 8.5. That's for sure. I like that number.
For me, I'm just going to do the traditional Henderson over his receiving yard prop, whatever it is, and I'm just going to call the day with that.
Sure.
What was up with Brian Robinson? He looked like he was running in quicksand. 10 carries, 25 yards last night. He did not look 2 nights ago. Sorry. He did not look impressive at all.
No.
And that's the thing we need to remember about the Commanders is they're a nice story and everything. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. They had a lot of variance this year. They had a lot of variance.
Some high highs, some low lows, and just a really young team.
They are insanely young team. So let's jump right into some takeaways, my friend.
Sure.
What is your takeaway from Wildcard Weekend?
Yeah, my takeaway is that we kind of, I would say the general public, from what we kind of thought teams were in the regular season, they've kind of turned out to be that way. I don't know if everybody had the Texans over the Chargers, but I don't think anybody was super surprised. Obviously, the Commanders, Bucks, you could have gone either way, but the Commanders had a much better season if you would ask any casual NFL fan. And again, the Vikings, I think a lot of people thought were fraudulent down the stretch. So it's, to me, we are who they thought they were. And it's going to be a really, really good divisional round. I don't foresee the blowouts that we had in the first round, because that sucks. But, I mean, football's football at this point.
My takeaway. I can already tell the two futures I'm betting this season. The Commanders under, the Commanders not to make the playoffs. This team is overachieving and is going to be that team that the public looks to take futures on going into next season. They're due for some regression. They are 23 for 28 on fourth downs this season.
Mm-hmm.
That's 82%. The league average is 51. I'm a big Pythagorean win total guy. They had 12. Pythagorean win total has them at 10.6. Anytime there's over a differential of 1, that means the team is either due for positive or negative regression, due for a little negative regression. There's a good chance Kingsbury is going to be gone. How is Daniels going to look with the new OC? I know everyone's going to say Kingsbury this, Kingsbury that. I think he's done a good job with his offense. I think he's been a decent job. He's put Daniels in a situation to succeed. Plus, I always say the second year is the year we see what the quarterback really is. Why is that? Teams have film on the player. Do you remember last year, everyone was ready to crown CJ Stroud as the next guy.
Best guy available if you take his contract into account.
This season, worst completion percentage, less yards, yards per game, less touchdowns, higher interceptions. I feel the same thing's going to happen for Daniels. When these teams have film on him, they're going to be able to prep for what he can do. Plus, they're going to have a second place schedule. Okay, so that means along with playing the Eagles twice, the Cowboys twice, and the Giants, if they could get a quarterback with their defense, could be good. They're going to be playing the Broncos, Seahawks, Chiefs, Chargers, Vikings, and Dolphins. That is a huge upgrade in schedule. I think we're going to see him take a step back like the Texans did this year. So look, I'm going to bet both unders, man. I'm both unders and them not to make the playoffs. Them not to make the playoffs is probably going to be plus money.
Probably going to be right around there, I would guess.
Because
it depends what Dallas does, right? And it depends, how does some of the chips fall as far as quarterbacks go. But, I agree.
Now let's get to some bets, man. Let's jump right into it. This is the best weekend of football. And 100%. Your first bet, we have the first ever dealer's choice.
Yeah, so I as far as the Chiefs and Texans game, I think the Chiefs, I'm not super impressed by what I saw out of the Texans. I'm more unimpressed by what I saw out of Justin Herbert. That's a game we kind of missed on. That was, to me, just not the Texan team that I saw all season. The Chiefs are the Chiefs team that I think we see every time this year. Mahomes is on the injury list. It's a high ankle, as it always perfectly is. But yes, no, I kind of put in there it's a dealer's choice as far as first touchdown, anytime touchdown. As far as first touchdown, it's the only game that has everybody north of plus 700. So I really think you could do kind of a 3 or 4 man first time touchdown score, because I do think the Chiefs are going to probably hop out pretty early in this game. The weather looks decent as far as Kansas City goes at this time of year, but I'm just not really buying into what the Texans got going on right now. I'm interested to see, because we didn't really talk about that game. What are your thoughts taken away from Chargers-Texans?
It was the sexiest plus 3 I've ever hit in my life, man.
Sure.
Texans defense played lights out.
Oh, yeah.
my big cap on that was I just thought Texans are number one, DVOA defending the run. Chargers are such a run-based offense.
Yeah, they can't pass if they don't move the ball on the ground.
Yeah, and the Texans are top 5 defending play action pass.
Right.
So everything the Chargers wanted to do, that's what the Texans were good at defending. Now with how the game started off, Chargers should have been up like 14-0
immediately.
But the Texans played some defense. There was that broken play with CJ. They did what they had to do, and the Chargers not having an X wide receiver really showed. That's the thing. Lad's a good possession wide receiver, but in my eyes, he's not an alpha wide.
He's not a 1. He's not a 1. He's not a 1. He's a really good 2. He would be the best 3 in the league. But it's, yeah, like you said, no X. DJ Chark is not going to fill that hole.
But I mean, this year's draft loaded with talent. They're going to be able maybe to get the kid from Missouri.
Yep.
They're going to be able to get someone to be that alpha. But that's definitely what they need to do when they let Williams and Keenan Allen go, and they didn't address it, and it came to bit them in the ass. That play to Hutchinson, I think, was when that kind of shifted the momentum. But yeah, the Texans, they did enough to get it done. I still don't trust the team to go in and win. However, cool Kev, salute. Seeing the Chargers and Donkeys exit early is a beautiful feeling. LOL. But with the Texans, I do trust them in the. So I apologize, man. My computer has been acting awful. And I swear to God, I typed all these in, and now they're literally all gone. So I'm typing them as we talk. I do trust the Texans plus 5.5 for the first half. They were 13-4 ATS first half this season, which is the best in the league. During Ryan's tenure in Houston, they are 26-11 ATS for the first half, including 3-0 in the playoffs. CJ Stroud, career 26-9 in the first half. Texans first half, top 10 in offense, 4th in time of possession. That just tells they're insanely good at the scripted part of the games. Thing we need to remember is Chiefs haven't played a game in 21 days. I feel there's going to be an insane rust factor. 1 seeds in the divisional round are 39.5% ATS in the first half. For the regular season, Stroud has a better completion percentage and quarterback ranking than Mahomes. That's only in the first half, guys. What are the one thing that the Texans do great? Rush the quarterback. The tackles are the weakness of the Chiefs offensive line. Taylor, PFF grade 59.9, making him 61 out of 81 on the season. Humphreys is playing left tackle. PFF graded 44.8, hasn't played enough to qualify. Texans defense has been great this season. 2nd DVOA, 3rd best against the run and pass. With the Chiefs offense being a timing offense, I think it's going to be tough for them to get rhythm at the start of the game. Also a great matchup for Nico Collins. Chiefs are 26 DVOA defending wide receiver 1s this season, and Stroud leans in Collins a lot. Despite missing 5 games this season, Collins led the Texans in targets, yards, and receptions. The trends, CJ Stroud's stats, everything is pointing me to the Houston Texans plus 5.5.
Yeah, the Chiefs just don't blow teams out. I mean, it's just not something they do, and I totally think that's achievable. I think I'm not teasing it, but it's definitely one of those games you're sitting there at 8, and it's like, man, you can get it out to 14. It's like, but
I wanted to take the Texans, but then I was just like, you know what? We're just going to do the smart thing here. We're just gonna play the first half where they
because you're not really betting. I'm a firm believer you don't bet against Patrick Mahomes. You're not technically betting against him. You're just betting against him in the first half.
So that's all we need to do. Texans need a stud wide receiver to win it all. Dude, Nico, don't sleep on my boy Nico, man. Don't sleep on my boy Nico. Next one, and you know what? I have to fully admit I am a little bit scared of this one. Lay it on me, big dog.
Yeah, so I don't fully believe that the Lions are going to be blowing the doors off the Commanders. I think the Commanders can definitely keep this game within 9.5. I've been very consistent with them all season. They're so like you said. So we're next season. I totally agree. I think the numbers are going to be inflated on them. I think that they totally have it for regression. But this season, they have a horseshoe stuck up their ass, it feels like. And going against a guy, I think it was maybe 1 year ago on this program, we were talking about a certain guy being a stubborn gambler. And it really hasn't come to bite him in the ass this season. And I could absolutely see this being a game where the Lions try some bullshit early, and it just allows the Commanders to stay in this game because the Lions, yeah, their defense, they're getting healthier, but still, the Commanders are good, man. They are as hot as anybody. But yeah, I like the Commies keeping it 9.5. Keep it to single digits.
I don't. You know what? I have to say this. Like, and I talked to Bryce, who was on the show last week from the I Need It Sports Pod. And my comment to him was, if you told me Roberson was going to hold Jefferson in check on that Sunday Night Football game, I would have been amazed.
Yeah.
Now, is that a one-time thing?
I don't know. He'll have.
I don't know.
Days, yeah. It's hard to say.
But I mean, that was an impressive game. And the thing with Daniels is he still leans to the right side of the field, really doesn't throw to the left. If Glenn can come up with a scheme to take away that side of the field, yeah, he's got a chance. You know what I mean?
And I think you didn't even really see him utilize his legs that well in game one. There's just so much more to unlock, but he needs his running backs. He needs his running backs to do better. We talked about it. It's a must.
My next bet, and I am going to the same game, but I did a player prop. Austin Eckler over 22.5 receiving yards. Lions are 29th DVOA defending the running back in the passing game. They've given up the 15th most yards per game to opposing running backs in the passing game, 34.8. The last 4 running backs against the Lions, Aaron Jones, 30 yards receiving. Isaac Guerrero, 65 yards receiving. DeAndre Swift, 33. And against the Bills, James Cook had 28. But Ty Johnson had 114. So defending in the passing game has been an issue for the Lions. Eckler had 4 for 26 on Sunday night. He's gone over this in 7 of 13 games he's played. And someone made a comment earlier about Brian Robinson. Eckler was way more effective in the rushing game and the passing game than Robinson. That could lead to an uptick in usage. He also has the experience factor since he is that savvy veteran. So I think, plus he's better in pass pro. So if this is a negative game script, if they do need to pass to get back into it, or if it's a tight game and he brings more pass pro, I think he's going to get more snaps. More snaps means more opportunity. So give me Austin Eckler over 22.5. So I guess this means Providence didn't cover the plus 9.5. I guess that's what it means. You know what? I mean, some days there's certain days in basketball you just don't see the board. And I think I'm going to chalk that up to one of these days, man. It started out great. You know, I hit the Hoyas plus 10 against St. John's. I was feeling confident. Then I bought into the spot of Wyoming. Wyoming is getting boat raced right now, 78-40.
See that on my screen right now. Yikes.
But I mean, if you told me Boise State was going to be 10 for 21 on threes, I would have said you're crazy, but they are. And
Damn.
then I got my boys in Providence lost, but it's down to my Spartans, dude, who are down 22-20 against New Mexico right now. I'm going to be up laying the CBS Sports Network, sweating some Mountain West basketball.
I like that. I like that bet though. I'm looking at Eckler. Last week they were able to scheme. He had a run. He had a rush for 12 yards. One of his catches went for 18. And you looking at previous games, big games for them against Philly when they were at Philly. The week looks like before Thanksgiving, or maybe a couple weeks before Thanksgiving. He had 9 targets for 89 yards.
Yeah.
He's a perfect safety blanket. And I do love the fact that he's still getting some run. I was a little worried that it might be the end of the road for him, but it's obviously not.
Plus, I think the pass pro element of it can't be overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like him just being as good as he is, run blocking is just it. Brandon chiming in, Texans over KC, calling his shot. It's an off day for you, Erik, but that is not often yet. You know what? Bounce back coming tomorrow, my friend. Bet number 3. You know what? You kind of gave us a smorgasbord. We had a dealer's choice with the first touchdown. You know what? We had a full game. Now we have you're the first person ever to do a teaser on this bet, man. You're just breaking it. You're just being historic with your appearance today, my friend.
Yeah, man. Well, this is something, especially in Divisional Weekend, that it happens even more often for people that are familiar with what a Wong teaser is. That is when you're able to move across significant numbers. So I'm looking at Buffalo +1. If you can get them +1.5, that's even better. Moving that out on a 6-point teaser, that gets me to +7 is where I ended up. If you can get 7.5, that's great. I wasn't going to wait around and find out. But then the Rams and Eagles game, I like the Rams, but the Birds are definitely the pick for this one. I'm going to tease the Eagles down to a pick 'em. So this is something that I bet all season on. If I see +6s out there, -6s, +3s, -3s, 2s, 1s, 1.5s. I don't love 1 because depending how you get graded at your book on your teasers, that might kind of come back to bite you in the ass. But the biggest thing when you do these teasers, make sure you're not paying more than -120 on a 6-point teaser. The numbers become wildly skewed. But yeah, that's the way that I'm going to go on that one.
All right. Nice question here from Let's Make Some Money. It's been the year of the chalk. With that being said, should I parlay the Eagles, Lions, and Chiefs on the spread and on the money line?
Money line, I don't even know what the hell that's going to pay you. Some big money lines out there this weekend.
There's huge money lines. Like, I don't know how you are. This is and you know what? We can have a quick little side chat or whatever the word is. How do you feel about parlays? Because like the way I look at it, if I'm gonna parlay something, I want plus on both sides. Because I don't, you know what I mean? Like I want to shoot for the fences. So when I do a parlay, like last Saturday, I had 4 dogs I liked in basketball. So I just parlayed though in a round robin parlay. So if I'm gonna do a parlay this weekend, I'll probably do some boosted parlays with player props, but I'm not a big fan of like playing like -300, -200, and -150 in a parlay, just because having 3 things to happen to win a bet where you're going to basically get even money, I'd rather just find one thing to happen to get even money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's parlays. If you look at the splits on how casinos have done over the last few years, it's same game parlays and everything else, and parlays just in general. But yeah, I mean, you put those 3 together, you're looking at right around even money. I don't know, man. Asking 3 teams, oh God, that's tough. Having 3 teams win or 3 favorites go your way on any given divisional weekend, it's really, really tough. And I don't think it's definitely not worth +100 or +104. So Yes, but parlays are very entertaining. I don't disagree.
All right, here we go. Anytime TD player props. Any player prop that is sticking your mind out.
So yeah, I was looking. I gotta pull this up again. Props. So really, to me, James Cook, the fact that he was somewhat affordable last week was hilarious. This week, not so much. There's really not a lot of good value, I would say. I was looking at him earlier. It sucks. Anytime touchdown parlays, I've never really done good with, so it's not like really something I'm into. So the only time I'm really betting anytime touchdown guys, I did a shit ton with like Josh Jacobs this year, but yeah, I nothing really sticks out to me as far as the ATTD pros.
Here we go. We got Terry, Andrews, and Collins. So I know off the top of my head the ones I was looking at. I mentioned Austin Eckler. I think I'm going to do Austin Eckler. I mean, he's plus 260. In the next game, in the Chiefs game, I'm going to do Dalton Schultz. The Rams game, for me in the Rams game, you either do A.J. Brown or Cooper Kupp. Both are coming off bullshit games. So one of them is going to get in the box. So I would do one of those two. In the Buffalo and the Ravens game, Ravens struggle defending the middle of the field. I would probably maybe look to Shakir. That would, if I had to put one together on the spot, that's what I would do. And I mentioned the guy who's going to be my last bet, Dalton Schultz, over 34.5 yards receiving. Chiefs have given up the most receiving yards this year to tight ends, allowing 70.1 per game. Well, if you take out the game against the Broncos, so we're just going to take that game out because that was the game no one played. 8 of the last 10 tight ends that have faced the Chiefs have gone over this total. The only ones that didn't were Akins from the Browns, who had 30, and Andrew Tatum from the Broncos, who had 34. During that 10-game run, tight ends are averaging 51 yards per game. Schultz just played the Chiefs, had 5 for 45. Schultz for the season, he is second on the Texans in targets and receptions. He was third in yards. The people in front of him, Nico Collins and Tank Dell, who's out for the season, were in front of him. So he's basically going to be the second threat. Now, I know there's the worry point with Chris Jones and the Chiefs defensive front because Schultz is their best blocking tight end. Do they keep him in? You know what I mean? Do they keep him in pass pros? I think with the lack of weapons, I think you have to line him up. I think you have to use him in the passing game just because he's going to be your second best option.
I was going to say, who else but him?
We talked about Meacham earlier from the Texans. That was the least unimpressive game I've seen from a wide receiver. And the fact that I didn't understand why they didn't put Deontay Johnson there. The fact Deontay Johnson was released today kind of tells me why that was in there. You know what I mean? Like,
wild ride of a season, man.
I need to see that Netflix documentary. I'll tell you that. But
no kidding.
Meacham's a good field stretcher, a good number 3 guy, but you can't rely on him to be your number 2. Schultz is going to be have to be their number 2. Look, I'm all about him. 34.5 is a phenomenal price for how bad the Chiefs have been in the middle of the field. Brandon in the chat mentioned Kyron Williams. Let me look at BetStamp and see what his price is. He's got to be juiced up though, man.
I do like James Cook. James Cook is only minus 119. I don't hate that actually.
So the best price for Williams is on Bet Rivers at minus. Oh no, FanDuel has him at minus 110. So they have him at basically even money
Okay.
You know what? What about Brandon? I love it. I love it. Kicker props. What would be a kicker that you'd like?
Kicker props. Who's indoors?
Who's indoors? The Lions.
Oh, let's do
Batesy?
Mr. Anxiety. Let's do the dude from the Commanders. Oh, what the hell is his name? Zane Gonzalez. Dude, that clip was insane.
Could you imagine? I mean, when we just look at the Commander season, they won on a doink, dude. You know what I mean? They literally won on a doink. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's been magical, and that's why I don't fully believe that they're gonna win, but I don't think they get blown out. I just don't see it ending like that.
He is plus 105 for over 1.5 field goals. Plus 105.
I like that a lot.
After all the turnovers last week, do you have any INT props?
INT props are tough. I admittedly did bet a lot of Jordan Love INT overs this year once I kind of realized he was just going to go into Brett Favre era. But I had Stroud to throw a pick last week. I think I could have him throw a pick this week.
All right, so let's look at CJ Stroud's INT prop.
I am looking at minus 160. Whew. I got it right around even money last week. And he did it in, I think, the first quarter.
What is Stafford? He's got to be up there too. I bet he's got to be about minus 150. That'd be my bet. Oh, dude, he's minus 123 on Rivers.
Interesting.
What about Lamar?
Weather
Allen?
like Philly. Ooh, there's a chance of rain in Philly. That would be if it rained in Philly, I'd love that under. If it stayed over 42.5, I don't know how far it would adjust, but
what was I gonna say? As a fan of the Packers, what is your thoughts on Love? Is Love the guy that's going to take you guys over the hump? Is he the guy that's going to bring Green Bay the next Super Bowl? Or are you just going to kind of be what you are, a team that makes the playoffs, that's capable of winning the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's right now, I'm still in the fact that I'm okay with not winning a Super Bowl immediately. I didn't think year 2 it was going to be this astronomical jump. The writing was very much on the wall down the stretch that things were not going to go well in the postseason. So honestly, it sucks. You know, obviously it's one more year, but it's also the biggest thing that stands out to me is we need a number one receiver. A lot of people said, "Oh, this is a team that doesn't need a one." Well, I think we found out our guys do not get the best separation. And now, obviously, Watson's going to be out probably for all of next year. It's going to be an interesting offseason. We got a lot of money to spend. Last year, they kind of went against the grain. We don't usually spend money. We went and got the number 1 DB, the number 2 running back. So, and they both worked out well. So I'm hoping that they see that trend. And obviously, draft's going to be big up in Green Bay this year. So it'll be hopefully a lot of optimism because people are a little upset.
I mean, the big question, dude, are you going to the draft this year?
Yeah, 100%.
You're going to be up there? All right, man. We'll have to connect, man. We'll definitely have to connect. Have a couple adult cervezas. Bills, Ravens, who you got?
I would say I think the Ravens. The Ravens are just they're a well-rounded team this year. Last year I couldn't buy in because I think Lamar had to be perfect. This year they don't have to be. But however, I do think the team that wins this game, I do think beats the Chiefs next week because I do think the Chiefs beat the Texans. Because I don't think the Chiefs are going to a 3rd Super Bowl in a row. I could be totally wrong. I'm not going to bet them not to. But I would lean Ravens.
I'd lean Bills. I just don't see it. Do you take the over Lamar rushing yards? He's hitting it almost every week.
I'm more inclined to take NFL quarterback rushing yards versus college. Lamar's at 48.5. 51.5. Depends where you're looking. This is a wide range of price right now. I'd be really worried betting he's on a Tuesday night. So you better be confident in your number.
But I mean, like, for me, I look at it like this. If I'm someone that wants to bet the over, I'll probably take it now because I think it's going to steam up. Just based on what I did last week. If I want to bet the under, I'm going to wait until Friday, Saturday to bet it because I think it's going to probably steam up a couple more yards. Brandon says Love got to go. Can't get him over the finish line. My boy Bobby, dude, I'm telling you, Bobby, I promise I will shave. I have the old man beard going. Vrabel and McDaniel, and then McDaniels joins New England as OC. $98 million in cap space. What are your thoughts?
Better spend it right. It's a good combo for them. I know there are definitely some Patriot fans that would rather not see McDaniels get back there, but it all depends how you spend it. Can you sell guys on coming to New England? I mean, it's not exactly been a free agent landing spot in the past, and you haven't had recent success. I don't know. I think it's going to be – I don't think they're going to go get a bunch of free agents this year.
It's an interesting spot just because you have Drake May.
Mm-hmm.
You have Milton, who looked good, and I feel he looked good enough where if hypothetically I'm the Titans, I'd be more inclined to draft another offensive lineman or Carter from Penn State and then trade a third or a fourth, and I roll out with Milton than I would Cam Ward or Shadir Sanders. So you know what I mean? I think they're kind of in an interesting spot. But you hit the nail on the head. You got to get people to come to New England.
Yeah.
And then they have the fourth pick. Maybe Hunter will fall there. I doubt it. But I think that
they could go get T-Mac. They could go get Burden at receiver. Yeah. I think you could go either one of those and be happy.
Campbell, the kid from LSU. Milton's going against third-string Bill straight. But, I mean, he looked the part. He was big. He was physical. He could throw the ball.
You're just experiencing stage one of the Joe Milton experience. Yeah. That's okay.
But, I mean, like, visually he did enough to get, you know what I mean, to get traded.
Yeah.
You know, like.
He has more value than Mac Jones ever did.
So, like, these backup quarterbacks.
Jones was a 6th-round pick swap. You could probably just get a straight 6th-rounder for Milton.
So let's do this. So I'm going to give you 4 backup quarterbacks that played that are going to be looking for a job next year, and I want you to rank them. Joe Milton, based on what we saw the last week. Joe Milton, Mac Jones, Carson Wentz, Jimmy Garoppolo.
I would say I would take Jimmy first.
Okay, he looked decent. He looked good.
Yeah, I would take Jimmy first. I would take Carson Wentz last. Just, I know how bad that can be. I'm sorry. And then Milton and who?
Mac Jones.
Yeah, Mac third, Milton second.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think you're going to be able to get some trade value for him.
You could.
And, I mean, that's the key. Like, get some trade value for him.
Just get something.
And then, like.
The Packers are in a similar scenario right now with Malik. But the problem is Love has been hurt so much, you really kind of want to have Malik just in case.
And the thing is, you mentioned, like, you made a comment about Josh McDaniels and the coaching. And, like, you guys have it with LaFleur. The thing I don't think people realize is Malik Willis was awful. He shows up
unplayable.
LaFleur in basically 3 weeks, 20 days, got him ready, got him competent enough to be an NFL starter, and he won you guys 2 games.
Really won us 3.
So you know what I mean? 3 games, yeah, because he came in a lot for that one. I'm spacing on it, but I mean, what LaFleur is able to do is absolutely insane. Okay, and I'd like to thank you for coming on, talking a little NFL Divisional Round. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social media, my friend?
Yeah, it's just underscore OKANE __. Probably won't be doing the pod. Knocked out my wife, so that's taking up a lot of time. So the pod got shut down a little early this year. Hopefully, depending how the first few months of fatherhood go, I'll be back next year. But I'll definitely be popping on here periodically because that works on my schedule.
RIP. And you also bet some college basketball, and I'm always looking out for people.
Bet a lot of college basketball. Definitely will be tweeting out all my college basketball stuff. Getting into that.
And you'll be back on, I'm sure, during the college basketball season. I got to take advantage of you before you get a kid running, before you get old junior running around there.
100%.
So, thanks for coming on. Definitely we'll have to talk, hook up at the draft. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Best of luck in all your bets, guys.